Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and today I'm going to tell you all about the negligence that Nikki Bella has effectively accused WWE of when it came to that severe neck injury she had a couple of years ago. And I'm also going to tell you a weird story about Vince McMahon's sneaky way to try and avoid bankruptcy for the XFL.
Plus, Monday Night Raw posts its second lowest ever viewership. This is the news.
Let's kick things off by talking about Nikki Bella. So her and Brie, they had their book come out earlier this month. It's called Incomparable. Covers all kinds of different things, as you might imagine. And
Does it cover that bit where she said, "I wish you died in the womb"?
I sincerely hope it does not. But one of the major talking points as far as like her wrestling career goes revolves around the neck injury. So it was late 2015, she'd lost the Divas Championship. She'd held it for 301 days. She had that neck problem. She had to go under the knife. It was a very serious situation. She was out for 10 months. And when she came back, she had, full-time-ish runs here and there, but it was never quite the same until she eventually retired in 2018, citing complications from those neck problems, which forced her to adapt her wrestling style as well, and a cyst that had developed on her brain. But when she talks about, the diagnosis of the injury, this is some pretty grim stuff. So she basically says that WWE said, you don't need an MRI, it won't find anything, don't worry about it. Here's the passage from the book. I asked for an MRI, but I was told that it wouldn't show anything. They had no answer when I explained that my legs were going numb and giving out on me in matches, and that I could only lie down in bed for a couple of hours at a time. Finally, I had an MRI. It was in Austin, Texas. I was backstage. A doctor came up to me and said, "Just so you know, we're not going to find anything." I would have given anything for that to be true. She then goes on to describe her frustration a bit and says that if she was a male wrestler, she feels like she would have received radically different treatment. So, man, that's not exactly the most glowing reference of WWE's medical team. We've heard similarly damning statements about them in the past, but to go from, hey, don't worry, you won't find a damn thing on an MRI, you don't need one of those, to, you need major surgery and 10 months out is a pretty major difference.
Yeah, first of all, I suppose we should tackle if I was a male wrestler, I'd would have got significantly different treatment. No, you wouldn't. They were crap with them as well, just as CM Punk. But yeah, I suppose we should caveat this with the fact that you may not realise this, but both myself and Andy Murray aren't, in fact, doctors. But anyway, we're going to speculate on this story nonetheless. You'd think some people may say, this is all very sensationalist and it's all well and good to be writing this now you've left the company and, sort of broken out on your own. But, I mean, it does seem to support, like you said, all the other reports we've heard coming out of WWE about medical negligence. And the fact that this company, who, Nikki was one of their biggest stars at the time, were just like, it's probably just a hurty neck, you'll be fine. Like, they should be trying everything, surely, just in case. Like you say, when you put this alongside the reports we heard from CM Punk a few years ago, and then the sort of weird back and forth that we had for years with Daniel Bryan, which was WWE arguably, going too far the opposite way, and then you weren't really sure whose doctor's reports to believe. It's a worrying indication, I'd say, this more than anything, rather than an indictment of what went on. Because, mistakes can be made. People are only human after all. But, yeah, it just worries you that if this is still continuing to this day, with the injuries that wrestlers suffer and the casual nature of the way WWE appear to deal with those injuries, yeah, concerning.
Yeah, very concerning, particularly when you consider that it's Nikki Bella who was going into the Hall of Fame this year, not just some random lower mid-carder or whatever. So, man, yeah, it's just, it's tough stuff to hear things like this, but, I'm glad that in 2020, Nikki's doing a lot better and she's got careers outside of wrestling. She's pregnant, of course, she's engaged to be married, good things in her life, good things in Brie's life as well, so it's all working out.
Yeah, and just nice, give credit to her for being brave enough to bring this sort of thing to light, because, like you say, she got to where she is through her connections in WWE, and while she's probably self-sufficient now, it takes a lot of balls to just turn around to your ex-employer and go, yeah, you kind of screwed this one up.
Yeah, it does. No, it surely does. Particularly as like she's remained in their, you know, they've continued some kind of working relationship over the years as well. Total Bellas is a thing, man. Like, good for her for speaking out is what we're seeing.
Exactly. Can't wait for it to be erased from WWE history in the next few weeks. Right, let's move on next and talk about WWE and Vince McMahon issuing statements around Shad Gaspard. We've been covering this story, of course, since it broke on Monday. He went missing. He was pulled out by a riptide whilst on Venice Beach with his son. His son was rescued. Reports even claim that Shad directed rescuers to save his son over him. He's still missing. The situation is now, you know, more and more bleak as the days go by. We'll keep you updated, of course, on any developments with that. But as I said, Vince McMahon and WWE both issuing statements on the Shad Gaspard situation. Vince McMahon tweeting, "The thoughts of everyone at WWE are with Shad Gaspard's family during this difficult time." Something similar going out on WWE's social media channels as well. And the Gaspard family has also released an update saying, "We would like to express our gratitude to the first responders who rescued Arya and to the lifeguards, coast guards, and divers, fire and police departments for their continued efforts to find our beloved Shad. Shad is a fighter, a warrior, and a magical soul. We are hoping and praying for his safe return. As a family, we thank you all for your concern and well wishes. Please continue to keep sending your positivity and prayers to our beloved Shad." We talked about this a lot yesterday. It's a tough story to report on. And we mentioned Shad is a real-life superhero, so fingers crossed, despite how the situation looks. And yeah, once again, everyone here at WhatCulture's thoughts and prayers are with Shad, his friends and his family.
Yeah, exactly. There's not really much to say on top of that other than we hope for a miracle. We hope he's found, and yeah, man, just keep his family and friends in your thoughts, because this is awful. It's a horrendous situation. Let's move on to Vince McMahon and the XFL. Something fishy's going on, brothers and sisters. Something weird is occurring. We got a new report here from The Athletic, Daniel Kaplan of The Athletic, who writes that there is a belief amongst the XFL's creditors that Vince McMahon is trying to buy the football promotion outright, buy it back, as a means of kind of avoiding the financial losses incurred through bankruptcy. So it's what he's effectively doing here is trying to avoid incurring the debt that would arise in this difficult economic situation, with the XFL being filed for bankruptcy and put up for sale and all of that. This apparently comes from the creditors. There's an objection to the bankruptcy proposal stating that the XFL should pay $3.5 million in ticket refunds. This has been objected. The viewpoint there is that Vince is kind of doing this, like offering the refund to sweeten stakeholders up and make people a bit more welcoming to a potential comeback. But he's trying to buy, you know, the direct quote here is, "The payment is being sought to further the efforts of the debtor's controlling equity holder / secured lender, Vince McMahon, to acquire the debtor, the XFL, at a fire sale price." He's trying to drive it down, buy it back, and effectively start the whole thing from scratch, which would be extremely difficult given the hit that he has taken, his reputation-wise in the sporting world, and Oliver Luck and that legal battle and all that craziness going on. But it's shady, carny crap from Vince McMahon, which we should expect from the dude. But, you know, there may well be life in the XFL yet.
Once again, myself and Andy Murray, surprisingly, are not financial experts, but this is dodgy as all hell, isn't it?
I think so.
Why, by the way, when I read this story this morning, why did I picture Vince going to some sort of, you know, I don't know, bankruptcy sale for the XFL with like a Groucho Marx mask on with like a comedy moustache and going, "Hello, my name's Vince McMahon and I'd like to buy this XFL off you." Yeah, it sounds so dodgy. I think the thing to say here is just to Vince, either you want the XFL to continue, in which case, oh my God, you've got so much money, just deal with the issues, which, yeah, is incredibly unfortunate when this happened. You know, the XFL, we already said it was always going to be running at a loss initially, but was hopefully going to turn things around, and this has come at the worst possible time. So either you kind of have to take that on the chin, as heavy a financial burden that will be, and I realise that they're so used to sort of flubbing things to help their shareholders that it's just not a situation they're really used to. So you either have to do that, you have to take that financial hit and go, you know what, we're going to plough on, we have a vision for this over the next 5-10 years or whatever, or just let the XFL die, because this is ridiculous.
It just seems like a poison brand at this stage, and oh God, please no more XFL news ever. Just let it go, let it drift.
How about, instead of focusing on the XFL, you focus on your former flagship show, Monday Night Raw? Although I'm not sure that's the best idea, considering whenever Vince gets his grubby mitts on anything recently, it all goes to pot. This is because we have found out that WWE Raw this week posted its second lowest viewership ever for this week's episode. If you ever needed an indication that Baron Corbin is not a sodding draw, stop putting him in the title picture. It's this. Ooh, brand-to-brand invitational system. Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin. No, just no. An 8% decline in overall viewership. 1.92 down to an average of 1.76 million. That's the all-time low, by the way, 1.68 million set just 2 weeks ago. Hour breakdowns, 1.82, 1.81 and 1.64, so no one was sticking around for that Baron Corbin match at the end of the night, to be perfectly honest. Look, of course, this isn't just Baron's fault, although it mostly is, and it's a difficult time to be judging stuff like this. We always have to caveat it with the fact that everything across TV is down, because people are just wanting to consume news, or kind of wanting a lot more escapism than what WWE, and to be fair, any other wrestling promotion can provide.
Yeah.
You know, if it's Monday night, are you going to sit there and sort of struggle through an episode of Monday Night Raw, or are you going to watch The Last Dance, which is epic, which I've just got into? I know I'm a little bit late to this party, but trust me, I am all in on that one. Yeah, everything's down, but again, I mean, after a really good episode last week, it was such a shame this week that Raw was kind of crap, and not just for the reason that my beloved tag team didn't win their titles back.
Yeah, the other thing I think we should probably acknowledge as well is that wrestling is down at a higher percentage across the board than the average cable TV show. So it's like, empty arena wrestling, we say this every week, but it's just not that appealing to as many people. You're not going to attract a consistent viewership. You're going to struggle throughout all this. My question is, are those people going to come back? I'm not entirely convinced that a lot of them are. It's troubling times. Baron Corbin's not a goddamn draw either, which doesn't help matters. He gets jeers in the building, but there's nobody in the building at the moment, brothers. Yeah, it's just another crap. Like, we're going to have another all-time low. We're going to have another one here, there, and everywhere. It's going to happen consistently until fans come back. It's just a case of whether the audience comes back as well.
Yeah, we can only hope that, WWE books well and the fans slowly return. But if that'll happen and when that happens, God knows. And I say this every time, but don't compare it to the fact that, German football in the Bundesliga came back to an empty stadium, or people were talking about Korean baseball and stuff like that. It's not the same. Yes, there are crowds at other sports, but it doesn't really require quite the same crowd involvement, the sort of call and response and the reactions that you get. Yes, obviously at football games you like the cheering and the, whistling or whatever it is. But yeah, it's a very different world when it comes to professional wrestling, and crowds are essential, we've discovered clearly. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Nick T, who says, given the success of the cinematic matches at WrestleMania 36, should WWE hold an all cinematic matches pay-per-view?
Oh, I don't think so. I kind of like them as like a little one-off here and there, like a little, maybe one on a pay-per-view card or whatever. I think if you do a whole pay-per-view, you're going to completely oversaturate them. You're going to burn it out. WWE have a long-standing history of just burning cool things that people enjoy out and making them sick of them. So with that in mind, I don't think I'm not keen on the idea of a pay-per-view unless it's really short, like an hour long. I think that is going to take a potential exciting, unique little niche for the promotion and just kind of throw it in the river.
Light and shade. It's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's what we've been crying out for on many wrestling shows recently. NXT have clearly picked up on that. They had more fun segments and what have you, because you can't just have wrestling, but you also can't just have cinematic matches for 3 hours, because like you say, it would just be a real sense of burnout for fans.
Yeah.
I think as and when it is required and as the situation demands it. Second question today comes from Bands, who says, who is your shout out for a dark horse in their own respective championship division? Personally, Pac for AEW champion for me is just a matter of time.
Yeah, I'd love to see Pac as AEW champion. Bobby Lashley as WWE champion. Like, it seems like, I know they're probably going to have him lose to Drew, and it's probably just one of the month-to-month challenger things, but it seems like they're finally getting the guy right with MVP as the manager to do his talking for him, and just having Bobby as this big, bad, destroyer, athletic man that he was in Impact. He would be my pick for sure.
Yeah, with Bobby Lashley, you can see, he's going to be a contender. I don't see him winning the World Championship again with MVP by his side at Backlash. And again, you can't really say, well, what about Universal Championship? But is it fair to say that if Bobby Lashley, well, yeah, no, he did, but let's say right now, with the situation with the rosters as they are, if you had the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship on that version of SmackDown, I could easily see him being crowned World Heavyweight Champion on the sort of B show. And like you say, we saw in Impact what he can do.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, he's an impressive performer when you let Bobby Lashley be Bobby Lashley, but when you force him into cuck storylines, doesn't quite work.
I will never believe anyone that this was the long-term plan for that storyline, by the way.
No way.
Yeah, we're gonna have him cuck Rusev. Lana's going to become a bit of a nightmare, and then MVP's going to come along and he's going to become world champion. My pick for that, the first name that popped into my head when I read that question, was Sonya Deville. I think she's been a sensation on Friday nights since the split from Mandy Rose. Yes, she says bitch a lot, but I saw someone the other day, I think it was on Squared Circle, suggest that she is effectively taking the women's trending wrestler tag from Becky Lynch, who's obviously gone off to have a baby. Congratulations once again to her, because she's just doing some great stuff, and I can see her potentially becoming women's champion very soon.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's going to be or what sort of storyline that would take shape, but yeah, I think she's doing great stuff. More of that, please. Final question today comes from Daniel Martin, who says, when The Undertaker finally retires from in-ring wrestling in 2080, do you think we could see a faction similar to the Ministry of Darkness with him as a leader?
I don't think so. I think wrestling's just moved on from that style of like, weird goth stuff. Also, I don't think The Undertaker would want to do the road schedule required to build momentum and keep something like that prominent. You'd be talking about having the poor fella on TV every other week or every week. Big demand on a man who's been through what he's been through physically. Probably just rather sit at home with Michelle McCool and show up once a year and do his little cinematic match. So, it's not completely beyond the pale, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, no, as much as I'd like to see something akin to what we've seen with, say, Jake the Snake in AEW, I think the problem you would have is, even if he said, right, that's it, officially, no more wrestling for me, I think there'd always be that question in the back of fans' minds that would kind of overshadow his entire group, that, what if we get one more Taker match between, I don't know, his protege and Taker? And it's like, guys, he's like 102, come on.
Yeah, let the man rest.
It's just like bad enough watching him, limp around at WrestleMania on the last ride and just thinking, God, he puts his body through a hell of a lot of stuff. I think people often underestimate, like, hearing that story, by the way, just to go off on a bit of a tangent, about him saying how he would have to basically train, do WrestleMania, get surgery for whatever injuries were bothering him or had arisen from his match with WrestleMania, recover from those injuries, and then straight back into training for the next year's WrestleMania. Just made me think, God, he's given a lot to this industry. What an absolute legend.
Yeah, he keeps on doing it, man. There are some moments of unintentional hilarity in that documentary. Vince McMahon crying. I mean, brothers, brothers, please stop building that up as some kind of sign that maybe Vince McMahon's okay. But no, yeah, the Undertaker like destroys himself for this every single year. He deserves immense respect for that.
I also love how often, I was watching the first episode, I haven't seen the second episode yet, but I've seen clips of it. But I love how often in the first episode, The Miz is just randomly bumping into Taker backstage at all the WrestleManias. I was like, is this a bromance?
Yeah.
Have we got a potential new tag team on our hands? Right, let's move on to today's And Finally. And I'm going to hold my hands up here and say I didn't find this one. Loads of people have been tweeting this to us at WhatCulture WWE, at Andy H. Murray, at Adam Wilborn. And I don't really know what this is that I'm about to show you. Basically, Sammy Guevara shared a photo on his Instagram just 12 hours ago. It's a picture of a younger Chris Jericho with a young fan. Now, either this is one of two things. Either that is Chris Jericho with a young Sammy Guevara, as many people are claiming on Squared Circle, which is amazing that they've managed to find that image and that something like that happened considering where they are now with the Inner Circle. Or it isn't Sammy Guevara, it's just Chris Jericho holding some random kid. And I think Sammy Guevara posting that on his social media and sort of hinting at the fact that that could be him might be even better than if it was him.
Yeah, no, that's definitely better. He's a cheeky little scamp doing cheeky little scamp things, and I love the idea that he just fabricated this out of nowhere. What a legend.
I love Sammy Guevara. He's my favourite thing in wrestling right now. Right, let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. And don't forget to join us live 4 p.m. here on YouTube, where myself and the Dudley Boys will be answering all your burning wrestling questions and looking ahead to the Wednesday Night War and dealing with any breaking news, of course. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Actually, there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Hall of Pain. No, I've messed it up. House of Pain, which is... let's just go.
I'm going to go and listen to Jump Around after this. You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at What Culture WWE, as I said. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.